Start again.
All right, welcome to another episode of TFL Now. In this episode, we are talking everything Bronco. We're answering your questions in the chat. We are, of course, going to talk about the upcoming Bronco Warthog or Warthog.
Warthog. Jawohl, it's called the Warthog. It is a giant schnauzer. Warthog? Where'd you get that from?
It just felt right, Nathan. You know, it's emphasize the W, turn it into a V.
There you go.
And All-Terrain Nation in with the $5.
Oh, thank you.
He says the FE Broncos are amazing with the tops off. That is LOL. So David was out in Detroit. He had some experience with the Bronco this past week. So we're going to talk about primarily, first of all, how does the new Ford Bronco tow a trailer?
This is incredible stuff, guys. Nobody else has really been able to do this. Tommy and Roman managed to get a hitch put onto the vehicle. Not an easy task, not an inexpensive task. So take it away. What did you do?
Well, it was a debacle. So we ended up with a first edition Ford Bronco. And once again, a big thank you to Tim. He decided to basically give us his reservation in exchange for promotion for his charity that he supports, the Ronald McDonald Fund. So if you're looking to help a good cause, check them out. But basically, the first edition four-door Bronco cannot be had with a tow hitch from the factory.
Right. Now, this is a little bit strange to some of you out there, but bear in mind that this is a fully equipped vehicle. It had every option in the book, and that may have to do with one of the reasons why they didn't put the hitch on there, which is, I believe, an option, right? You can't equip it with one online.
On certain trims, you can.
On certain trims,
but
right.
The first edition, because they have all the goodies, as far as I understand it, and as far as I know, it's because of the fact that the ratings are going to be a little different because it's fully loaded with all the weight.
Right, so all that extra weight can take away from payload and, of course, towing.
But Andre went ahead and did the math, and he did his research, and he discovered that it will tow 3,240 pounds, I believe was the exact number, in our configuration. But we had to go out and find the actual receiver hitch, which for such a new, highly anticipated vehicle was a big challenge. We were able to get a Ford genuine accessory and part. But then the bigger challenge was finding the wiring. Because in the old days, you would just tap into the taillights and just run them off the taillights. But you can't do that nowadays.
Yeah, totally different type of system. I bet you some of you guys are saying, well, wait a minute. The Ford Ranger, you can get a hitch with that. It's the same platform or a very similar platform. Why not get that, plug it in? It doesn't work that way.
Well, yeah, so if you start drawing too much, like for example, amperage from the taillights because you're running the lights on the trailer, you're going to start throwing codes all over the place.
That's right.
So we had to track down a Ford factory wiring harness, which was extremely costly and very difficult to find this early on in the game. And then we only had the 4-pin connector as well, so we didn't have the 7.
Right.
Not that that matters too much, because currently the Ford from the factory cannot be spec'd with the trailer brake controller. But we were towing this cool little camper trailer.
That's right. How much did it weigh?
It was 2,400 pounds.
2,400.
It was a proper off-road trailer made by a company called Boreas, and this thing was kitted out. I mean, it had independent suspension, KO2 tires, like 12 inches of ground clearance, rock rails, skid plates, all that kind of deal. So it was a really cool combo, but it was expensive. We're talking over 30 grand.
That is an expensive trailer. Now, so you got this trailer, you finally got it together with the Bronco after all that work, and it was a lot of work. I was watching from afar as Tommy and Roman and Andre were scrambling, trying to go from one place to another, getting turned down at some places to get this thing put on, finally getting everything together to make it tow properly. They finally get to do the hill, the Ike Gauntlet, which Tommy did, and they brought in their 2014 Toyota FJ as, I guess, sort of not a benchmark, so to speak, but a proxy for the Toyota 4Runner, which, because they have a similar, well, the same powertrain and a similar platform, although shorter, it is a competition for the Ford Bronco. I think that all worked out, right? That's basically what I'm...
Yeah, it may be a 7-year-old Toyota, but the powertrain, engine, transmission, the same as a brand new 4Runner.
It's a 4-liter, right?
Yeah, 4-liter, 5-speed automatic. What we decided to do was use that kind of like as a baseline, just so we could kind of get a sense of how the Bronco was towing on the same day in the same temperatures and under the same conditions. So yeah, we ran the Toyota. Down the mountain, they were both quite similar on brake applications. The Ford did a little better, but neither did a good job of really maintaining a high RPM. in automatic mode. So we always run the tests in full automatic drive because if we start shifting manually, right, it's impossible to recreate the test evenly.
Right. Part of that has to do with the fact that vehicles all come differently and they're configured differently. And there are some that will actually take care of the grade and actually drop down a gear or two on their own automatically when they detect a trailer or extra load or going downhill.
You know what would fix that? So it's got all these goat modes.
Yeah.
It's got like 8 of them, Baja and Eco and Rock Crawl. Just give it a tow haul mode.
Which is interesting they didn't do that. And I'm wondering if that's something they're going to do later.
Very interested. Yeah, very interested to see, because I think that'd be a really big addition. But then, turning around at the bottom of the hill, we ran both of them up. The Toyota was able to maintain the speed limit of 60, but it is worth noting that 5 speeds is not enough gears.
And the gearing itself is all screwed up too on that thing for going up a hill like that.
It was exactly at the wrong RPM the whole time. So basically, it was going between like second and third, third and fourth, constantly. Like every 10 or 15 seconds, it would shift. Because once again, no tow haul mode, it wouldn't just hold the gear. So Andre was to the floor in parts, and it was just going, and that's the issue with having only 5 speeds, limited ratios. Right,
and the Ford, completely different story. 10 speed, lots of ratios, you're able to pick and choose and basically find where it needed to go, am I correct?
10-speed automatic, it did excellent. I mean, we're talking 10, 11,000 feet, you know, the maximum allowable steepest grade in America. And yeah, the twin turbos, that 2.7 just hauled that trailer up like it wasn't there.
One thing that we've had with Fords, now a lot of vehicles tow differently, one thing that's been consistent with Fords, as long as they've given us EcoBoost engines, they tend to give us the best times going up the hill. Usually they're screamers, and that's the truth. And that has to do with the fact that they're twin turbocharged V6s.
Yeah. It is worth noting though, Nathan, 3,500 pounds maximum on any Bronco configuration. That's the highest you can possibly tow. That's not a lot of weight.
No, it's not. Now, it is comparable to the Jeep Wrangler 4-door. But if you look at other vehicles like the 4Runner, it's not as much.
Even the FJ we were towing with has a max rating of 4,700. So even compared to that 7-year-old Toyota, it's pretty limited. Now, we talked to the manufacturers about why these ratings are what they are. A lot of the time, it's due to cooling. You really put a lot of strain on both the engine and the transmission when you're towing even small loads. And the manufacturer has to certify that load to be towed up Arizona grades in the middle of summer. Right. So that is a big limiting factor. You also have certain amounts of sway that the vehicle cannot exceed, braking capabilities the vehicle has to meet. So there's a lot of kind of standard procedure that has to go into designing the tow ratings.
Yeah, when I initially heard about the Ford Bronco being based on the same platform as the, Ford Ranger, I thought, okay, so it should be able to tow close to that because we are talking a truck platform. And so I was a little surprised when I saw that rating. I thought it would be 5,000 pounds.
And I believe Ranger's 75?
It's over 7,000 pounds, yeah.
Our buddy Dan Atkinson in the chat will be sure to chime in, but I think it's 7,500 pounds is the max on the Ranger. And that really is...
For a gas vehicle, it's one of the best in class.
Ford did such a good job of improving on the Wrangler's general design, but that
Rangers.
Did I say Ranger or Wrangler?
You said Wrangler.
So I meant Wrangler. I think that Ford has done a good job of benchmarking the Wrangler, making it better.
Okay, sorry, I was just trying to help, but you're right.
But they really missed the boat on the towing capacity.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of folks out there who have small travel trailers who feel that a vehicle like this would be a great thing for their family to off-road to go adventures on.
And you really just hit the nail on the head. During the entire COVID thing, let's say going back a year and change, there have been over 1 million trailers sold in the United States. Now, granted, not all of them are travel trailers, but many of them are. And many of them were purchased by first-time owners. So a variety of these trailers, a lot of travel trailers, a lot of pop-ups and teardrops. These trailers, which, by the way, they're selling out of in some cases.
Yeah, I've heard.
Are going to new owners. And there are a couple things that they really should know if they're going to hook up a trailer. Which brings me to a quick segue for a new show that we're producing that's very similar to the Ike Gauntlet, but smaller.
Yeah, so we're calling it the Tyke Ike. And this is a series that Nathan and Andre just shot the first video on, but we're actually going to start towing now with normal SUVs and small crossovers.
That's right. There are a lot of crossovers. Almost all crossovers have an option for a tow package, and most of them can tow over 1,500 pounds in some cases. Some of them can tow a lot more than that. And what we thought about, and what many of you guys asked for, is a consumer-based review on the Ike Gauntlet, but towing with these little trailers using these small crossovers and SUVs. So we're hoping that more automakers will give us these vehicles with a tow package, and in the near future, one of our very own is going to be going up that hill.
Yeah, exactly. So we had a Kia SUV, and Nathan brought in his pop-up camper, and we were able to push that thing up the hill. So it's a very interesting world. So currently the towing standard for the major OEMs is a standard called the SAE J2807, Society of Automotive Engineers.
Right.
And what happened is a number of years ago, the engineers from the various manufacturers came together in a room, and I actually talked to them about what this dynamic was like, and it was pretty interesting. And they basically went toe-to-toe and hashed out what they believed would be a fair and reasonable standard to benchmark towing capability on. Because prior to that, people would just slap a number on a vehicle and say, it'll tow 10K.
Yeah.
But there was nothing really behind that number. So since then, if the manufacturer decides to conform to the standard, it has to be able to accelerate to 60 in a certain time.
Right.
The parking brake has to hold the load on like a 20% grade. You've got understeer tests, you've got sway tests, and it's a very, very careful standard that they apply to.
And you know, part of that actually helps them with liability.
Oh,
because,
that's interesting.
You know, if you think about it, if somebody's exceeded their recommendations with any of these trailers, including a lot of guys out there, it goes to money. And the bottom line is that it can really hurt people. So yeah, that's part of the standard, works for the automaker and also informs you guys.
Bruce Martin coming in with a super chat, Nathan. $10. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you,
kind
Bruce.
Of you. So he's got a question for us. After driving both the Bronco First Edition and the Ranger Tremor, what one would you choose? I'm considering a Bronco Black Diamond non-Sasquatch with a 2.7 or the Ranger Tremor.
Well, I mean, they're very different vehicles, right? So we were just talking about towing. If towing's important to you, then go Ranger. Would I be wrong about that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the first thing. In terms of off-road capability, I still think that the Bronco has it over. It has different overhangs and an approach and departure angle. All that is better with the Bronco. So it really depends on what you're serious about doing. Now, bottom line for me, if I were to choose between the two of them, I'd probably veer to the truck. Oh. I think it's a little bit more utilitarian for my needs, but that's just me.
That's interesting. Now, I don't have a family or a new puppy like Nathan, so I'm going to lean more toward the Bronco because it's just more fun. Pull the top off, pull the doors off. But the fact of the matter is, if you are looking to take delivery relatively soon, the Bronco is just out of the question. I'm sorry. It really is, especially if you don't want to pay massive over sticker, right?
Yeah. The sticker prices out there, both on new and used vehicles, are pathetic right now.
Oh, so some other things people are pointing out too. So our first edition Bronco has 920 pounds of payload.
That's really bad.
That's really
bad. That 920 pounds, that's about the same as my wife's Mini. I'm not kidding. I think she's 980.
Yeah, the FJ Cruiser was like 1130 or something.
Yeah.
So over 1100.
Which is a little bit more reasonable. Wow.
Roger says, Tommy looking like he got that Red Lobster tan. Yes, I went to my very first autocross this weekend, and I forgot to wear sunscreen early on. So that's why I look like a lobster on the camera. I do apologize about that.
Oh, don't apologize.
So,
you look great.
Nathan, let's talk about what my dad just caught testing in the mountains. What is believed to be a more extreme version of the Bronco. So it's a very camouflage vehicle, but this is a vehicle that appears to be riding on a wide body stance with wider fender flares, 37-inch tall tires, and maybe a high-speed off-road version. Tell me about what you think this vehicle is going to be like.
Okay, there's a lot of speculation out there that this is going to be called the Ford Bronco Warthog. Ford did recently secure that name, so they actually own the rights to it. However, they never announced anything about it being the name for the Bronco. The funny part on top of that is that some of the PR people for Ford have actually gone onto social media and posted videos of the A10 Warthog. It's the A10 Thunderbolt 2, which is a tank destroyer or whatnot, really badass aircraft. And they've been kind of hinting towards that. However, a lot of people on these major websites, big fan sites, are saying, no, 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 no. It's not going to be called that. It's going to be called the Ford Bronco Raptor. They're insistent on that. So you have two different schools of thought. What we do know is that this vehicle looks to be some sort of extreme Ford Bronco that may also have an extreme power plant.
So when we're talking extreme in the off-road world, you can go extreme rock crawl, like, you know, lots of articulation, factory winch and lockers and stuff, kind of like Power Wagon route. Or do you think extreme desert runner, more like Raptor?
I think they're trying to cross the two.
Interesting.
37-inch tire. I mean, that is the biggest I've ever heard of from the factory. Jeep just announced 35s, and Ford comes along and goes, aha, there might be 37s, although it hasn't been announced yet, so we don't know for sure, to be fair. But think about it. You're talking about greater articulation because you have a higher lift, even though you have larger tires. You know, it goes into that trap of when you add things, you just add weight and size and all that. However, it looks like they are serious about making this thing super performing on both fronts. That means that it has a better approach, departure, and breakover angle than it did before with that massive lift in tires. It will most likely have some sort of juiced up powertrain just to turn those massive wheels, and most likely it'll have even beefier suspension than the current Bronco does.
Zeb coming in with the $10. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
He says, thank you, TFL, for all your channels. I hope one day to be able to hit some trails with you. We hope that as well. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So are we thinking upgraded shock absorbers? So the current Bronco, available Bill Steins.
Yeah.
Fox maybe on the new one?
I'm thinking very similar to what's in the Raptor right now, which are those giant Fox shocks, which are programmable, adjustable from the cabin. Oh. I think that they're going to go that route.
So, okay.
This is a guess.
Our Bronco, Sasquatch, which is the big tires with the lockers, we're talking over $60K. If Ford comes out with the even more extreme model, you think we're going to hit the $80,000 range?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you're looking at a 10 to 15% bump, and that's before the dealers get a hold of it and start absolutely raking you guys over the coals in order to make their buck. I would say that this vehicle is going to come in at $10,000 more than the very top of the line Bronco. Wow. $10,000 more. That seems to be what a lot of people are doing. Jeep's doing it. If you look at, you know, their 392 compared to their regular V6, if you can look at that gap, that's a pretty big gap financially.
Okay, so we've got bigger tires. We're thinking maybe some upgraded suspension, maybe wide body design. What's going to be under the hood?
That's the big question, and it's a huge debate right now. Now, guys on the Bronco forum and a whole bunch of these other guys are talking about the Coyote. I know you guys desperately want the Coyote. I love the Coyote. It's one of the best V8s out there. It's so flexible. However, Ford has been saying for years, we calculate about 9 years now since they came out with EcoBoost, everything's going to be EcoBoost. We're going to prove that it's the best powertrain out there. So there could be a variety of different, I think, EcoBoost options that go in there, including there is the possibility, just the possibility, that Ford may try to put a hybrid powertrain in there. Ooh. Now wait, before you guys don't angry type yet, just hear me out. There is a super powerful version of this hybrid powertrain that is in a Ford product right now that has over 600 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah, the Aviator.
Yes. Now think about that Aviator powertrain going into something like the Bronco, which, yes, it'll add weight, but it's going to have crazy stupid power. Don't look at the hybrid powertrain as, you know, something for better mileage. No. I'm just talking for better power. It could be awesome.
Very good point, Nathan. And as you mentioned earlier, I agree with you. I think that the 5-liter V8 Coyote off the table, because if you look at even their Halo car, the Ford GT, right, that kind of showcases their newest and greatest and best technology. That's got an EcoBoost V6, right? So I strongly believe that a new upgraded Bronco is going to go that route as well.
I wonder if it'll get the Ford GT EcoBoost V6.
I think the Aviator has a 3-liter twin turbo, or is it a
It's one of their
3.5?
newer ones, yeah.
3-liter, yeah. Okay, we just got another donation from Z71 Grizzly Garage. Thank you, sir. Coming in
Thank
with
you.
the $9.99. Would you ever compare mid-size off-road trucks and off-road SUVs all together? Usually off-road communities separate by brand. So Wrangler JL and Gladiator, Ford Bronco and Ranger, Tacoma 4Runner, Chevy ZR2, that kind of thing.
Would we take them all and put them on the, at once?
Yeah.
And compare them? We've done similar stuff like that before, but bear in mind that the more vehicles we get into one shoot, there's a lot of manpower that has to go behind that, and that includes a larger group of people to film it, a larger group of people to actually put together the logistics. It's difficult for us, but it's not impossible.
It's very interesting, unfortunately, because when we started out a long time ago, that video would have been impossible because we didn't have the clout to get the cars at one time.
Right.
Because they're never going to be at the same place at the right time. So you have to ship them in from all over the country. Now that we do have the clout, it is even harder to get those vehicles at the same time because the manufacturers are terrified that their vehicle is going to come in not first.
Right.
And it's a very interesting media landscape. So
there are events from time to time that allow us to put together cars that we wouldn't normally be able to put together, and we're aware of those events. And when the time comes and when the opportunity is there, sometimes we're able to slap together a bunch of vehicles and put together a comparison. So there are opportunities, and we take advantage of every opportunity we can.
So going back to the Warthog for one more second, my biggest frustration with the Warthog is
Warthog. I'm sorry, that's just awesome.
Is how do you justify to your current consumers who are waiting, into 2022 model year, maybe even to 2023, who haven't heard about their VIN or their potential build date, and then come out and show this new latest greatest showcase? Do you think that would make some people upset because they can't even get the normal one, let alone a high performance model?
I'm sure a lot of people will be upset, but the whole purpose, there are two different groups that are really at play here. There's the guys who are on the production side who are trying to build the vehicles, and they're the guys on the PR side. Now the PR side wants to put in front of you something that makes your mouth water, and they want you to salivate, and then they want to drag you in and pull you in. Now think about this. How long have you guys been hearing about the Bronco before we finally even saw it? Years. And production delays and everything else, everything that's mounted up to it, they've still managed to keep you guys hooked and pull you in, because I got to admit, their PR is pretty savvy about ways of getting just enough information to you to bring you in even further. So this Warthog, or whatever it's going to be called, Super Raptor, it will bring more people in than it disenfranchises. That's what I believe.
Taker 610, $2. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
When are the TFL boys driving a Rivian R1T?
That's a really good question. I believe deliveries are supposed to happen now for customers, right?
Production's supposed to start next month.
Next month is production? Okay. Rivian's another company that's had to push everything back. Part of it had to do with chips and some other delays with COVID. It's been frustrating because they were great about communicating with us at first, and then that kind of all fell apart. Now we're just like anybody else. So hopefully we'll be able to reach out to Rivian, or more importantly, they'll reach out to us, and we'll be able to secure a vehicle in the near future. Plus, we do have some listeners and viewers who may help us get to one of the vehicles they've ordered.
So it's been a slightly frustrating experience because every time we ask, they say, absolutely, we'll get you one eventually. And that's all we get. And we push and we push, and that's as far as we can get over and over.
We don't want to insult them. We don't want to get to that point. You have to understand that there's nobody else above us. It's just TFL. So we have to kind of fend for ourselves. And so in order to work with these companies, sometimes you have to be gentle. And other times, yeah, you got to be mean. I'm just kidding about that. But seriously, we're trying our best to get it, and we are doing everything we can to get to it, that's also including the Cybertruck. We definitely want to get our hands on one of those.
Oh, wow. The donations are coming in fast and furious. And guys, a huge thank you. We don't ask for these, but these go an enormous way to helping our channel, especially with the uneven landscape that is YouTube nowadays. So big thank you to the super chats. So more questions from Brent. $20. Very kind of you.
Brent,
because of the TFL channels, I haven't looked at magazines in over 2 years.
I am sure that certain magazines would be thrilled to hear that. And, honestly, they've been dying out for a while. It's not just us that's helped take them down. than a lot of other video channels and social media in general.
We're not out there to take down the magazines. That was not one of our missions, but it's definitely been a great ride over the last 10 years. So thank you for your support, Brent.
We appreciate that. Also, remember, we have websites, so if you are in the mood to read, TFLcar.com, TFLtruck.com, you go ahead and move on to TFLoffroad.com and TFLbike.com as well.
Yeah,
So-
certain producers sitting behind the camera would really appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah, just don't throw anything at me, Zach.
We understand that we've got a lot going on, but if you want it all in one place, we realize it's confusing. We created one website, TFL-studios.com. It's got the podcast, the posts, all the important stuff you need to see.
You can scroll right through it and hit what you want to watch.
Yep. All right. So next question from Dwayne, $10. Thank you, Dwayne.
Thank you, Dwayne.
I'm with you on hoping for a more powerful hybrid power boost type power option for the Bronco. That F-150 power boost seems to be a great mix of horsepower, torque, and fuel economy.
I agree with you 100%. And then on top of that, you could use it for actual utility. Imagine if they had a plug in the back of a Bronco so you could, I don't know, go to a campsite, plug it in, and power it for a day or two. It's an incredible idea, but Tommy let me in on something that I wasn't expecting to hear. Tommy's heard that there's a PHEV idea for the Ford Bronco. Am I correct?
Yeah, I've heard rumors and rumblings on the forums and stuff that there's going to be one coming, which makes sense because they need to keep up with the 4xe and the Wrangler.
Right.
One area where I think the Wrangler missed the boat a little bit was access to that big battery. And what I mean by that is tapping into it through onboard power outlets.
It's
in a
such
big
a
way.
shame they didn't go that route. Now, I'm willing to bet that that adds a layer of complexity that may have pushed the debut of that vehicle. I know that they were working really hard to get that thing developed and out on time, which they did. But maybe their next one, maybe next year or the year after, they may be able to bring it out.
So Fadia coming in there. Hello there. $10. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
What is more better, F-150 Raptor or TRX? I want an honest answer.
Okay. It's a tough one. Tommy's going to go first.
Okay, so we haven't driven the new Raptor. Andre's about to do that, so be sure to stay tuned. I'm a little apprehensive about what it brings to the table because it's still the same EcoBoost, as we understand it, or a very similar EcoBoost. So I think that currently, at least compared to the 2020 I drove, the TRX kind of wipes the floor. You can't beat 7 horsepower. I mean, it's just like that's just like the elephant in the room. I mean, you can talk about suspension refinements and tweaks and live valve technology and all that, but 700 horsepower sitting there in front of you is a tough thing to argue with.
Yeah, and they really did their homework with turning this truck into something that's really, really good on almost every surface. I would say that the Raptor, for me, the older one that we had, was a little bit more of a sports car going around a corner. The TRX is a muscle truck, and if money wasn't an object and I wasn't worried about spending $300 a week on gas, I would drive the TRX without a doubt. It's obnoxious, it's fun, it's brutish, and you know, when I think about that truck, I always think about it in a positive way just because it's so ridiculous.
Even at the launch of the TRX, the engine was sucking the air out of the room for all of the other development teams on the TRX.
Yeah, those poor guys with the suspension worked so hard.
They put so much work into the Bill Stein Blackhawk suspension and the tuning and the chassis development and the strengthening. But nope, everyone was just right to the Hellcat engine. That's all they wanted to know about.
And this is a limited thing because they can't keep building trucks like this forever. So we may only see it for a little while before they may have to move on to a different powertrain. So I would say my own personal choice, as much as I love the Raptor, yeah, I'd go TRX just because it's just folly and ridiculous.
It's
and
ridiculous.
Awesome.
It's awesome. Bud Guy 8829 with $5. How about an EcoBoost 7.3?
Wow. Okay, so think about it this way. You built and designed, you spent probably $1 billion or millions of dollars to design this giant 7.3 liter gas engine. Now you're bringing in other people to create a twin turbocharged or possibly supercharged version of it. Not that that's impossible, but just think about it from the manufacturer point of view. If they have other powertrains that are as powerful but don't require all that extra research, they're going to save a lot of money. And I think at the end of the day, you have to think of how they're spending their money.
Well, I also think that the EcoBoost is both an engineering, but certainly a marketing tool to convince people that you get the power of an 8 with the fuel efficiency of a 6.
That's exactly what it's always been.
Yes.
The same with the 4-cylinder.
And I think that putting turbos on a 7.3 kind of takes away from that message a little bit, because then you're just making the most insane 8.
But it has the power of a V12 with the economy of a V8.
Okay, all right.
But they could go that direction. Zach's even
That is
laughing.
very much a glasses half full way to look.
I do
Wow,
like
I'm
that
trying
a
to
lot.
help. I'm trying to help, guys.
Dave Murphy, $20.
Oh, thank you, Dave. We appreciate it.
He says, thank you for all the great content. In Silicon Valley, the oversticker madness has become insane. Audi GT, 50,000 oversticker.
50 over sticker. Wow. I wish I could say I was surprised, but recently I had to go into the car market. There's nothing worse than an automotive journalist having to go into the car market for their own sake. And I got to tell you, I have been disenfranchised. I really feel for you people out there who are just trying to get a decent car for a decent price.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. So thank you for that donation.
Yes,
Taker
thank you.
610, $2. There is rumored a plug-in setup for the next Ranger.
I've been hearing that. You know what? It was supposed to be this. Okay, this is what I heard. I heard that they're going to stick with the 4-cylinder. They have an EcoBoost setup for it, ready to go.
Okay.
Okay, an EcoBoost. They have a hybrid system for it, ready to go.
Yep.
And obviously a smaller battery, and it basically would be like a miniaturized version of the F-150 hybrid.
So it's interesting because the Maverick, right, the little upcoming tiny truck, has a standard hybrid system.
It does indeed. However, that standard hybrid system is not a PHEV.
Not a plug-in.
No, and I think that that's a super smart thing that they did because it's so inexpensive, according to Ford. But even if you are paying over 20 grand for this thing, think about it. You're getting this super efficient powertrain that they're going to be able to mass produce.
Very interesting.
I think it's a really cool idea.
Justin Case coming in with the $2. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Justin.
He asks, update on interior upgrades for the full-sized GM trucks.
Well, we know that they are upgrading the interiors, and we also know that our man Andre will be seeing some trucks in the near future. We can't talk about very much. However, I have a feeling he's going to be seeing some unique and updated things.
And General Motors is being extremely tight-lipped about this, even to us behind the scenes. So we're very much in the same boat you are. But I'm thinking, here's my prediction.
Please.
Go take a look at the new Tahoe, and then imagine that interior in a Silverado.
Yeah, and there's actually been some stuff out there where there's been some spy photos, not from us, that have shown interiors that have been highly upgraded that look a lot like that.
And then on the GMC side, go take a look at a Yukon, and then plop that into a GMC. And I think that is what we're going to see.
Which means nicer.
So Nathan, before we close out, we have 502 people watching right now.
Oh,
I
thank
do
you.
want to cover some interesting news which has happened in this industry. One of the more interesting vehicles coming out is made by a company called Genesis. And they just launched one of the more controversial designs in recent memory. And I want to know what you guys think of it. So Zach, why don't you go ahead and put it on the screen right now and let me know in the comment section. So this is called the GV80.
Yep.
And this is going to be...
GV60.
Just kidding. This is called the GV60, of course.
60, sorry.
And this is going to be a fully electric SUV. And people really love, or they really hate the design. What do you think?
I think that this is the perfect design to go up against Tesla and their Model Y. I think that this design is unique, just unique enough to say this is a Genesis product. Yeah, it's a little different, but I think that it's a smart idea. They need to go into this, everybody is, and so far Genesis has really been surprising me, but not only with their design, but their technical savvy as well.
So from the folks I've been talking to within our media industry, people are really upset with it. They really dislike the design. I honestly love it. I think it's fantastic. I think it's youthful and sporty, and it's kind of got this very aggressive look to it and this crazy C-pillar, and I think it's brilliant. I also love the bright green, just an incredible launch color.
Really surprised me that Genesis went that way because Genesis has been pushing towards a conservative design with many things.
Very classy.
Very classy,
very
kind of
upmarket.
Lexus-like, you know?
Yeah.
Could you imagine a Lexus that color?
No, I'm glad they did it. I mean,
I am too.
Genesis provides so much value for the money. I would imagine that even some people in the chat haven't seen the Genesis website or what they have to offer. But think better than Lexus for less than in a lot of cases.
Yeah, better or as good as.
Oh, fantastic.
And I've compared them against Mercedes-Benz, and they've come out on top in some ways. They are an impressive automaker, yes, They are owned by Hyundai. No, it is not a Hyundai. It is not a Kia. It is a Genesis. They're extremely different. And yeah, there's a lot of fandom coming in from TFL. It's because we've been driving these things for a while, and they've been really good.
Like genuinely mind-blowingly good for what you get based on the price. So this new GV60 is based on the Ioniq 5 and the Kia GT6 platform. So it's a new modular electric architecture that the Koreans are launching here shortly. It's supposed to be a lot of range for relatively reasonable money with a lot of charging capability. So really excited to see that. If you are not paying attention to what Hyundai and Kia are doing, if you're discounting them like people did in the 80s and 90s, you are sorely mistaken, because they are killing the domestics and the Japanese and the Germans in a lot of cases in so many ways.
You know, we love competition. It's one of the things, that's why we cherish anything that comes in that's forcing other automakers to up their game, because it's good for us and it's good for you guys, the consumer.
Before we get to the last piece of news, Charles, $9.99.
Thank you, Charles. Appreciate it.
Has there been any rumors about a new engine for the Ram 1500? They really need to keep up.
Yes, and there's been a couple interesting rumors, including a PHEV. So and this is rumors. They basically are saying, they are saying that the powertrain that's currently being used in the Jeep 4xe, which is the 4-cylinder with, well, technically there's 2 electric motors, but the main electric motor, whatnot, that system is going to find its way into many other products that are being built by Stellantis, former FCA, and that includes the Ram truck, which means if they do this, if they pull this off, they're going to have a PHEV version of the Ram truck that could be even 4-wheel drive.
So you're saying that rumors are pointing to a plug-in hybrid Ram truck? That's interesting. I haven't heard that. So for a long time, we heard rumors of a potential straight six. Right? And it kind of makes sense a little bit to me, because a lot of the OEMs in Germany, BMW, straight six, new straight sixes are some of the best in the world.
The new straight six and the Mercedes-Benz, fantastic.
One of the best in the world. Land Rover, even Jaguar, their new straight six, phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
So it would kind of make sense to me that Stellantis is going to move in that direction. We'll have to see what they do. Straight sixes, beautifully smooth, oftentimes high revving, oftentimes overbuilt. Very hard to package though, because it's an extremely long engine.
Yeah.
Where do you put the accessory drives on the front of it, the belts? Mercedes has gotten rid of those altogether. They run them off of electricity, like all the accessories in the front of the engine. So very excited to see what they do. I agree with you. The 5.7 Hemi, old.
It's extremely old, and it's fallen behind, and now Toyota's about to come out with a new powertrain. So if the rumors hold true, then it's possible that we could be getting a PHEV version of the Ram, which would sort of skip over the competition, because nobody else is offering that as far as we know. And that could be pretty impressive.
And we do know that powertrain is coming to the new Grand Cherokee. So they have confirmed that. So let's transition into kind of the final and most interesting piece of this news puzzle for this week, and that has to do with Toyota.
Yes.
So we have a couple of spy images, one that was sent to us, and one that my father Roman actually caught testing in the mountains. Let's start out with the truck. So we just caught a new Tundra testing alongside some interesting vehicles.
Actually, a couple Tundras, if I recall.
Couple of Tundras.
That's right. And the vehicle it was next to, and the vehicle that is in the group that's testing at high elevation, was a Lincoln, which surprised the heck out of me.
And so they're together because they all are running the same Texas plates. They all have the same aerial equipment. And oftentimes these manufacturers will buy, they always buy competitor vehicles to test against.
But why would they buy a Lincoln Navigator to test against the truck?
What's the engine in a Navigator?
It is the same powertrain that is in the Ford Raptor.
Yes, F-150, so turbos.
Yes.
V6 turbos.
That's correct.
Very interesting. And another vehicle that was up there right with them the whole time was an F-150 Power Boost.
And the Power Boost obviously has the EcoBoost engine, but it also has the hybrid powertrain. And Andre's been driving his and loving it, so there's a lot of power there. So it's a very good chance that they're using these two different powertrains to benchmark what they're doing, which is an interesting irony, because I thought they were done. But Toyota's not done yet.
And they were towing, so they had an interesting towing setup, which was a custom-made trailer in one case with a flat front and mat, so they could modulate the weight.
Yep.
And then a cargo box trailer in another case. So I really strongly believe that this indicates a twin-turbo V6 coming in the new Tundra, maybe a hybrid option as well. And I think we're finally going to see the death of the ancient 3UR 5.7 V8.
Which some of you guys may lament, but let's face it, it's not very efficient compared to the other ones.
Is that okay to be the only truck in segment without a V8 offering?
Well, I mean, Ford is holding on by their teeth. They only have the Coyote for the half-ton trucks.
Yep.
And that they keep throwing a rumor out there, or someone keeps throwing a rumor that the Coyote is on its last legs because Ford wants to go all V6. We don't know.
Right.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. We're in a whole new world where people are starting to become more accepting of these types of powertrains and eventually electrification in general. So if they did completely get rid of their V8, even as an option, I think they'd be fine.
Interesting. I agree completely. I think that Ford has been making these twin turbos since 2011, 2012. So we're going on a decade now. And I think generally, apart from some reliability issues with some of the older ones, certainly, people like them and they're happy with them. There's a small group of people watching this chat right now that are going to miss the old sound and kind of roar of a V8.
Oh, and I got to tell you, with the TRD exhaust, the Toyota V8 is one of the best sounding truck V8s out there.
Fantastic.
Fantastic sound, perfect sound with the TRD exhaust package. So, yeah, I'm going to miss it too. I don't like V6 sounds. As good as Ford's powertrains are in terms of power, they last in my eardrums the same way a blender does after it's been used too long. It just sits there and just rotates and rotates.
It's not a, and they augmented
sound.
sound on the inside in most of their products. But for the vast majority of consumers, I really don't think they care.
Yeah,
they just want a truck.
I think they're getting over it and just like, hey, at least my truck has more power than yours. And, at the end of the day, I guess that's what's important. But yeah, I'm going to miss the sound of V8s, and they are progressively going away.
If they could have that thing go like stink like the F-150, people are going to love it. And that brings us to the final piece of news, which involves another Toyota product. Someone sent these to us from California, I believe. An image of a Toyota Yaris alongside a fully camouflaged, full-sized Toyota or Lexus product, which we believe to be either a Lexus LX or maybe a Sequoia.
I apologize for not. Apparently, that one didn't actually make it in.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Well, check out TFLtruck.com.
Yeah, you're going to see that, and it could very well have the new powertrain in it. That's one of the mysteries that we're trying to solve.
Right. So, I'm really excited to see what Toyota's doing. I know a lot of people are going to lament the death of the V8. We even see Mercedes, for example, 2022 model year. They're claiming that they're having the chip issue. And no more V8s in Mercedes for 22, except in like the S-Class.
Yep. Auf Wiedersehen to the V8. And is that a bad thing if they can replace it with a more powerful, smaller displacement 4-cylinder or 6-cylinder? I don't think it's a bad thing for a company like Mercedes. Roman disagrees, but either way, it is going to be a huge change that some of you guys are going to have a hard time digesting.
And the final two questions of the day, Taker 610, will there be an LA Auto Show this November?
Okay, currently it is on. In fact, to the point to where we're just about to try to book some housing. Of course, it could change. We don't know what's going to be happening with this Delta variant and all the other things that are going on. So currently, the last time I got a message from the LA Auto Show, they said that I was officially in, which I imagine everybody else who's going is in. That means we'll be getting our badges. We just will have to sit tight and probably wait another month, I'm guessing, before we get a positive or a negative from them. Boy, that sounds weird saying positive or negative.
I know. Yeah, oof.
Anyway.
Ethan Dearborn coming in with the $2.
Thank you.
Bring on a new Expedition, please.
Yes. Not only that, but they should basically take the powertrain that's currently in Andre's truck and put it in the Expedition, lift that thing up, and make it into this ultimate off-roader that has great power that you can plug into. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome. Yeah, I think that the onboard power really is a game changer for a lot of people.
I do too. I totally agree with that. After we've been playing with it and doing all these things with it, it's absolutely stunned me. And to the point to where I was thinking, wouldn't that be great if I was in other vehicles? And I think other automakers will be following Ford's example.
So coming up tomorrow, Nathan just bought an affordable off-roader.
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to talk about it here?
Do you want to talk about it? I say go for it.
I don't mind. Okay, here's the surprise is over. It's already been on social media anyway. I bought a very used 2004 Mitsubishi Montero Limited.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! And there's a long explanation behind it, and tomorrow there is a video where I do a big walk around with it. Bottom line here is that I just was so sick and tired of all these inflated prices, decided to go for something cash and save my money, save 2/3 of my money, and put it aside so I can get something in probably 2 years. And I'm just going to drive my Montero around and have a good time. It's very clean, it runs great. I'm going to modify it like starting today, basically. And I just want to wait until the market calms down because you guys are talking about it, and I agree with you. The markups are just ridiculous. Oh, and there is one more thing. Speaking of for sale, there is a red 1996 Chevy Blazer that we used in a special broadcast that's coming out in the near future. It's actually a video series, and it's going up for sale in Denver. So look for that if you are interested in it. It has been modified.
Send us an email, ask@tfltruck.com. Contact Nathan on Twitter if you're interested in a cool Blazer. Honestly, the Montero is kind of a sentimental thing for me at this point because the very first day I met Nathan in like 2011, he talked about his love of Monteros. And for the last decade, he has never owned one. He's had Troopers. Do you remember Troopers?
I've owned 3 Monteros
but
in the
not
past.
during the last 10 years.
Not in the last 10 years.
Yeah, so he's had the Isuzu Trooper, the Pathfinder, the Samurai,
Suzuki,
and now the Blazer, but never a Montero. It's outside. It's hella clean. It's very cool. It's got leather seats, and it looks like a budget Range Rover, so very excited about it.
It actually went up against Range Rover back in the day.
So check out TFL Classics tomorrow if you want to see that. Yes, as a lot of folks are asking, we will be at the Overland Expo Mountain West this Friday. Right around 11 a.m. we'll be there. If you want to find us, we'll be kind of near the Onyx Off-Road booth, walking around.
Yeah, starting around 11 o'clock, I believe a lot of us are going to be there.
Yep, I this week am driving Toyotas around Colorado. So tomorrow night I'm leaving on an Overland adventure with Toyota in the new TRD Pro Tacoma and the 21 4Runner TRD Pros.
Funny you mentioned Toyota.
What?
Next week, I'll be driving the Toyota, what is it called? The Toyota Corolla Cross.
There it
is.
is.
Which is their new baby crossover, and I'm going out with one of my dudes to film that. So that's next week.
Very cool. Yeah, so we've got that coming up as well. Here at the office, we've got the Acura TLX Type S.
Dude, that thing looks amazing from the back.
Tomorrow, we're shooting a video with Andre, his Buhanka, which is his Russian four-wheel drive van, a guy with a Mitsubishi Delica, which is a Mitsubishi four-wheel drive van.
Most awesome little four-wheel drive van ever.
And a guy with a Subaru Sambar, which is a little K van, which is a 600cc four-wheel drive van. That's going to be off-road.
It's also pretty damn cool.
Very, very cool. Yep, so we've got tons of cool stuff coming you're going to want to stay tuned for. And a big thank you to everyone who joined the Super Chat today. Really helped, made this show possible. If you're looking at supporting the team, check out TFL Car on Patreon, or just keep watching. That helps us out too.
Yep, we appreciate it, guys. We hope you have a great week. Stay safe out there, and I suggest you hold on to your money if you're in the market to buy a new vehicle because their prices are ridiculous.
It's a mess out there right now. Yeah, but if you're looking at selling a vehicle, now. Do it now, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you guys next time on another episode of the TFL Now live show where we'll talk about something totally different.
See ya.